It's my honor and privilege to present to you our supervisor, Mike Antonovich.
When the Princess Cruz said they chose this area, I mentioned to Dave, because I know the San Andreas Fault's nearby, and this will be a port one day. They were planning ahead, something that the government doesn't always do. Before I go into the county budget, let me just recognize we have our director of Metrolink, John Fitton, who comes from the private sector, who is now the executive director of Metrolink, and Art Lay, who started as a bus driver and is now the director of the Metropolitan Transit Authority, who are here. And I just want to start with some transportation issues before we go into the other programs that we have put forth in the Santa Cruz Valley during this past year and some of the fiscal realities that we are all facing. Our goal is to enhance the ability to connect with the Metrolink, the Santa Cruz Valley Transit, and the MTAs so that we can have a seamless mobility for the citizens of this area. We want to link Metrolink trips that end or begin in Santa Cruz to the Antelope Valley. We have a 2-year project, pilot project that's moving forward on that. In 2011, our pilot Metrolink Express train between Santa Cruz and downtown Los Angeles, we were able to reduce one-way travel by 15 minutes. And so one-way travel was from 60 minutes to 45 minutes, which means round trip you're going to save 30 minutes a day with our express train. We're now working to establish a 2-year, within 2 years, a station at the Bob Hope Airport. And so instead of having to go down below and take a shuttle to the airport, you're able to have a train station at the airport there. The highway projects, we break ground on the Interstate 5 southbound truck lanes from Pico Canyon to the 14 freeway, and this on the northbound truck lane 14 to Gavin Canyon, and that's going to be completed in early 2014, and that will improve that mobility and separate trucks from regular traffic and help trucks climb over that steep grade. We will help them better when we get the highway corridor and inland ports so that they're off that freeway. That's in the future. That we have a 14.5 HOV connector, which will be opening this July, and that's going to link the 14 freeway to the HOV system built on the 5. Our HOV improvements under construction on the 5 include the 5.5 mile segment between the 118 and the 170. That's going to be completed this spring in 2014, along with a segment between the 170 and the 134 that will be in December of 2014. We hope to have a plan to connect the HOV lanes from the 14 and the 5 to the 134, so you'll have a seamless 100 miles of HOV lanes on the 14, 5, 210, and the 134, from Palmdale to Interstate 215 in San Bernardino County. We're working to accelerate construction on a $350 million truck and HOV lanes on the 14 and Parker Road by developing a public-private partnership. This was to be scheduled in 2022, and we are moving to accelerate it to 2014, so we'll be able to enjoy it from here instead of Internal Valley. Art and John, that's the cemetery here. Our High Desert Corridor proposal will take trucks off the Interstate 5 in Santa Cruz by connecting the 5 to the Interstate 15 through Palmdale and Victorville. Our environmental impact reports, which we are doing right now, will be completed in 2013, and that's going to be a public-private project, and that's going to develop those inland ports so that the cargo from the harbors, the 2 ports, will be able to go inland ports via rail and then use the trucks to take them across the country, because 70% of the cargo that comes from our ports go outside Los Angeles County boundaries. And that's very important and again, long overdue. We are We've directed the MTA to study upgrading the Antelope Valley Metrolink line. The goal is to reduce the travel times between Santa Clarita and Los Angeles to 30 minutes. And the MTA study identified the needs, which is to double track to prevent head-on train collisions, eliminate the single track between Bob Hope Airport and Santa Clarita, and implement grade separations to allow faster train to move safely. The alternative plan is to upgrade Metrolink. To do that has been support from the Board of Supervisors, the MTA, the Southern California Association of Governments. And what is very interesting, high-speed rail, we don't know if it's going to sink or swim, but if it has a little life in high-speed rail, we have a commitment, and Dan Richards, who's the chairman of that body, and the board approved a $1 billion appropriation to our area so that we can have a rail system from the Palmdale, Santa Clarita to San Diego. That means straightening the tracks so you don't have that Knott's Berry Farm experience when you go down below. That means the dual tracks, underpasses, and again, upgrading the whole system. And we have been pledged $100 million with that first appropriation. We have the funding from the federal government, which is contingent upon the state passing funding at the state level, and that determination will be done within a very short period of time. And if they do approve it in Sacramento, this is one area where we are able to take an area of need, Southern California, which is more than half of this state, and we could revitalize the economy when you consider you're having transportation. You can go to SeaWorld, they can come up to Magic Mountain, and all the other activities that we have that's going to spur some economic jobs that are so vitally needed, and keep our communities a little more transit friendly. And with we've done a few things with foster youth, but we started a new program beginning in July so that we will be providing bus passes to foster youth. Those are the kids between 18 and 21, no home, on their own, without any ability to be mobile in this community. Bus passes so they'll be able to go to school, get a job, and be able to be a little more independent to help them in that area. The High Desert Corridor, which I mentioned, is a $4 billion 6 to 8 lane expressway between Palmdale and Victorville, and that's from the State Route 14 to 15, and that will be a public-private partnership. Now, one of the great success stories in the Santa Clarita Valley is your Santa Clarita Valley's Economic Development Corporation, and you have done a superb job, and it's amazing what you were able to do in such a short period of time. You become one of the most productive economic development organizations in the state. You provided site selection for 7 companies. You initiated sales calls for 150 plus prospective prospects. You completed retention assistance with 2 companies that saved 150 jobs. You made 3 loan referrals to the small business loan programs with the Valley Economic Development Center. You held the successful 2012 Economic Real Estate Outlook Conference, where you had over 300 people attending. You completed a marketing and business recruitment plan, and you're on track to raise that $350,000 in private sector support and working to attract 35 businesses to provide 1,500 jobs. You also received the Merit Award from California Association for Local Economic Development for Excellence, and you received the American Advertising Federation Award of Distinction. So really special credit goes to your CEO, Jonas Peterson, and the EDC board for a job well done. Last month, we all know the state approved the expanded Santa Clarita Valley Enterprise Zone, which will now encompass 14,400 acres for the entire Santa Clarita Valley of commercial and industrial land. And this was a partnership between the county, the city, the EDC, and the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce. A strategic opportunity that is going to create jobs and strengthen our dynamic business community through a range of benefits, hiring tax credits, sales and use tax credits, business expense deductions, and net interest deduction. So those are great projects to be moving forward and being proactive. Now, on local road projects, the county is moving forward with the Gorman Post Road project in the Stevenson Ranch, which will include upgrades to the Old Road, Cal Grove Boulevard, Chiquita Lane, and Pico Canyon Road. And I had an email this morning from a constituent in Castaic about the Old Road and the resurfacing, and that is, if he's here, I don't recall his name, but we are moving forward on the resurfacing, the reconstruction of damaged curbs and gutters, sidewalks and curb ramps, removal of trees that damage sidewalks, and planting of new trees. And bike lanes will also be installed on the Old Road between Stevenson Ranch and Stagecrest Circle South. The Vasquez Rocks roadway improvements is going to be a resurfacing between Bouquet Canyon and Sierra Highway to be completed within the next 3 weeks. The Escondido Canyon Road is a resurfacing project that begins this summer. Guardrail replacement project phase 2 is going to remove the existing guardrail and install new guardrails at various locations in the unincorporated communities of Cagle Canyon, Green Valley, Soledad, and along Angeles Crest Forest Highway and Tehunga Canyon Road. This is scheduled to start in the spring of this year and will take approximately 2 months to complete. The Santa Clara River Bridge signs in response to Isabella Clark. I don't know if Isabella's here, the 14-year-old Girl Scout who made this suggestion at a public hearing at the Board of Supervisors. Well, we moved forward on that, and the county and the city worked on a cooperative project to post the informational signs on bridges over the Santa Clara River in the Santa Cruz Valley, and we will fund 8 signs on 4 bridges that have been identified by the Santa Cruz River in March of this. Well, we're in April, so this has already been done. The synchronization of traffic signals in 2008, we completed the signal synchronization program. 21 county intersections were synchronized: Copper Hill Drive, Lost Canyon Road, Plum Canyon Road, Sierra Highway, Valencia Boulevard, and White's Canyon Road. The fiber optic cable that now will allow those signals to communicate with the county's traffic management center is currently being installed, and we anticipate that work will be done by the end of next month. Our fire department, and I can't, where's our fire? There he is, okay. And our sheriff's department, will praise you as well, have done a superb job. Our air support, our ground support, our community support, and the fire personnel in their off-duty are involved in their communities are just a real credit, and it's a real pleasure to work with them. We are building 6 stations, new fire stations, and last year we opened 156, and we're going to have dedicating stations 128 and 132 later this month. And then in October, which will be a battalion headquarters, is to be scheduled to be open in October. And the other 2 will be coming forth as well. And one of our great units is the Urban Search and Rescue. They have been certified by the United States State Department, so they go all over the world when we have national disasters, as they were in Japan with the tsunami, in Haiti and New Zealand. They've been able to save lives and to help people in need, and they are a real credit to the department. And then our Shaky Quakey van, which goes to the schools to educate children on earthquakes. We just put in 3 new Shaky Quakey vans. The other 2 were retired, and they are now operational and being able to educate our young people in the community. I can't say enough about our town councils. These are men and women who really volunteer their time. And I know Don Henry from Agua Dulce, Don Fleming at West Ranch, and Scott Wardell from Castaic is here. We recognize them. But these are people who come together and they meet. We established them in about the 1980s so that the community would have a forum. And we bring in the department heads from the police, the sheriff, the fire, all of the various county departments to work with them. And our deputies participate in those, observing those meetings so that they have communications with their office, with their needs, so we can be very responsive. So I really appreciate their leadership, and they've been a very vital tool to the county of Los Angeles. And in Agua Dulce, our community standards district, which is to ensure that standards preserve the natural settings and real characteristics of Agua Dulce, was approved by our Regional Planning Commission and will be before our Board of Supervisors on May 22nd, where that will be approved. Library is very important. We had a site in Stevenson Ranch. We were going forward, until we found out that the owner of the property had a covenant that did not permit such a facility. It would not allow a library at a retail center. So we were back to looking for another site, but we have funds in place to build that library. Placerita Nature Center, we just agreed with the 50-year operating agreement between the State of California and the City of Los Angeles. In addition, the center received a $1 million fund grant for the installation of new exhibits, and we appreciate their involvement in the community. And we expanded the trails by 40% in the 5th Supervisorial District. Vasquez Rocks, the $7 million visitor center, is going to be completed this August, and work is underway to complete the Darrell Redmond Memorial at Vasquez Rocks, and his boots and horseshoes will be cast in bronze and incorporated into the memorial in recognition of his contributions to the trails. He was our trail boss when we had our trail rides. Our next ride is May 20th. If any of you are interested, it's going to be in Sylmar in May. But he was really a great man. He was involved with the town council, and he was a great leader, and his legacy lives on with this trail that will be dedicated to him. William Hart Park, as you know, received a $1 million grant, and that's going to replace the existing chain link fence with wrought iron fencing, adding irrigation and landscaping at the pedestrian and vehicle access points, and that's going to be completed this December. Castaic Sports Complex, construction is already underway for a recreational pool, a shallow combined with a zero entrance splash and a bath housing building. This $13 million project will be completed in September of 2013. The improvements at Castaic Lake Fishing Pier, we have now installed a new sidewalk, paving the parking lot, and a new retaining wall. The new ramp and storage shed at the Boating Instructional Safety Center was completed last month, and the guagua mussel inspection program, which we started in December of this past year, has been very, very successful in preventing that pest from harming that lake. Copper Hill Park, a new 4-acre passive park, including landscaping, lighting, walking paths, will be completed this coming July. And Castaic Animal Shelter expansion renovation, we're going to renovate the kennels. We're building a 1,600 square foot spay and neuter center. We're adding a 1,440 square foot administrative modular building and adding new signage, and that's going to be completed in December as well. Now, chlorides, which is very touchy issue, as we all know, the State Regional Quality Board, not controlled by the county, not controlled by the city, not controlled by the town council, controlled by the governor who makes those appointments. They said that we had a problem with chlorides because it was impacting a neighboring county's avocado and strawberry fields, and that was in Ventura County. So they threatened hundreds of millions of dollars in lawsuits and fines that would be paid by you, the ratepayers. So there's a great deal of concern over that. I believe the state, it's their responsibility. They should pay for it, not the people downstream, but we're still involved with that. So to comply and avoid those fines, the district board is evaluating alternatives with state and federal mandates to avoid those fines. So an EIR process was started in February of this year. 3 public meetings were held in Santa Cruz. Staff also accepted written comments. The draft EIR is scheduled to be released in July and will include multiple public meetings in the Santa Cruz Valley, not down below, and there will be a 60-day comment period. No decisions will be made until that EIR process has been completed. But this is another example of our dysfunctional state of California. The courthouse, which we approved, and that was to be funded by the state. Now the state is going back and reevaluating all courthouses. So all of those courthouses that were going to be built are now on hold. Our area was going to be Santa Clarita and the Glendale courthouse, which were the 2 that were in need in our area. So right now, we're moving forward in that. We had the sheriff's station, and we're looking at other sheriff stations to be built in the Santa Clarita Valley as well, and that's in progress. When I mentioned foster care with the buses, another problem we have with foster care, dental health. You know, people can die with dental caries, the infection. It's a very serious issue, but one that's always overlooked. Well, we developed a public-private partnership to meet the oral health needs of LA County's foster children. So far, we have secured over $600,000 in grants to meet the dental health needs on a cost-neutral basis to the County of Los Angeles. We're also working to improve the outcome in safety, permanency, and self-sufficiency for our foster youth. We've established a foster care investigation unit to coordinate oversight of child safety, and we added staffing to increase the number of older youth adoptions. We implemented programs to help youth successfully transition from emancipation to becoming a successful citizen. And you can call 888-811-1121. That's a hotline if you want and can become a mentor, or if your church or synagogue can become, perhaps you have families there that would like to adopt. That is so important for that child, because you are going to save a life. All you have to do is visit our coroner's office, visit our jail, visit our probation camps, and you'll see the outcome, or our cemeteries, the outcome of emancipated youths who did not have a family, do not have a home, and they end up vital statistics. That number is 888-811-1121. The Bridge to Home is a partnership with the City of Santa Clarita, and that includes a Single Mothers Outreach, Family Promises Santa Clarita, Lutheran Social Services, and the Domestic Violence Center. This program is expected to begin in July, and that's to find homes for 10 families in the Santa Clarita Valley, and to repeat that program every year. Bridge to Home has already started raising funds, and the partners have met to plan to make that a successful operation. And this is an example: public-private partnerships working together to help those who are in need. Environmental programs, which is quite interesting, because we'd had a public-private partnership at Chiquita Canyon landfill. Amoresco built a 9.2 megawatt clean energy facility to convert that methane gas into energy. As a result of that, the cities of Burbank, the city of Pasadena, are now using that energy for their city's energies. And you know, Pasadena is over 100,000 people, and Glendale, I should say, Burbank is as well. So you can see what that one little landfill is doing to help provide energy for those two cities. It saves in annual benefits, it's equivalent to the planting of over 83,000 trees, the removal of over 74,000 automobiles from the road, the conversion of over 1 million barrels of oil, and the reduction of 45,000 tons of emissions. That's the equivalent. And then for the commercial, for the non-commercial franchise project, beginning July, all unincorporated county customers that utilize commercial dumpster and/or roll-off trash collection service will begin to receive free recycling services and on-site consultations, bulky items and electric waste collection, graffiti removal and clean fuel collection trucks to reduce air pollution and noise, and holiday tree collection. Under the franchise, all 100-plus current waste haulers will continue to operate, provided they meet the minimum performance and customer service standards. And more importantly, customers will continue to have the ability to choose their waste hauler and negotiate the price for themselves. Cell towers. We've had a lot of emails this past 3 days because somebody has a petition going around on the cell tower issue. But in February, the Court of Appeals upheld the FCC's ruling that forces local governments to process new cell tower applications in 150 days. That makes it virtually impossible to have full public hearings and come up to a decision after a person files that permit. In March, President Obama signed a law that will prohibit counties and cities from denying co-location of cell towers. Now the federal government says to the cities and the counties, you can't prevent those, you can't prohibit those. And to me, this was a legislation that was sneaked through in another bill, but it prevents the public from protecting the character of their communities. And one of the laws that I was very pleased to initiate and have supported and made into state law, nursing home rating system. It's been 1 year, January 2011, it's the first year in operation. 99% of our nursing homes are in compliance. And that means people who want to see what that nursing home is able to provide will know their quality measures, their facility conditions, their staffing, their health inspections, their dietary and fire safety inspection record, and licensing inspections, complaint reports, and performance evaluations are now available to the public. This is very important because those are people who don't have a voice. Everything's nice, you leave a loved one there, you leave, they're there 24/7. You know what a restaurant grading system, A, B, C, that gives you an indication, but a nursing home, you don't. And except when you leave some of those, you say, I hope I never have to go to one. So this is a help to improve that condition. When we talk about, let me just say what MTA, and I was proud to be a part of this effort. We now have 100% of our buses on natural gas. Show you the difference. Natural gas buses, gas was approximately $1.50 a gallon. It saves $40 million a year in savings, $400 billion over 10 years. It receives a $30 million rebate from the federal government for utilizing CNG buses. But more importantly, the MTA eliminates 300,000 pounds of greenhouse gas emissions daily, which is equivalent of shutting down 4 oil refineries. So when you're behind an MTA bus, just as with Santa Cruz, you're on natural gas, you don't get asphyxiated with that diesel fuel. You just have to watch out for the drivers then. Another issue that our sheriff and our community are going to be facing is realignment. The governor had an option. He had a court order to reduce the size of his population in our state prisons. He could contract out more of the beds that were required if he so desired, but he chose a system of dumping a large percentage of those on the counties, all 58 counties. As of October 1st, this program went into effect. I meet with my cities, and this morning I met with Pasadena, hearing their concerns on this issue as well. As of April 6th, those who were under state probation, state parole, are now under county probation supervision. It's over 6,000 are now under county probation supervision instead of the state. Over 1,700 have been reassessed by the Department of Mental Health, and 34% have refused treatment. Now, these are serious issues of mental health. 34% have refused treatment. Nearly 2,500 were referred to public health for substance abuse assessment. Over 50% have refused treatment. Over 2,100 arrests occurred involving this population. 43% have been rearrested since October. Of those, 936 of those cases are now being prosecuted by the district attorney, and 439 were deported because they were illegal aliens. Next, we have those people who are supposed to be nonviolent who are being sentenced. They are to serve time in our county jail. Our county jails were built to house for a person going through the court system, or those who received very minor offenses that served less than 12 months. They served less than 12 months. That's what they were built for. We now have people being sent to county jail for prison sentences as 16, 17, 23, and 25 years. They were not meant for that type of a population. They were not meant for that population. Approximately 28 are on electric monitoring. What does an electric anklet do? Do you get electrocuted when you leave your home? No. An alarm goes off, and then somebody's going to answer it. But they don't answer it at your local police station or sheriff's station. It could be in another state. It could even be in another country. They, in turn, will call the local police that this person's alarm is off. Now, they have to go out and find that person, okay? If you want to really commit a crime, you have a lot of lead time to do that. Plus, in a high-rise building, they don't work. You can't find where they are. So it sounds good, but it's a joke. The district attorney conducted a survey in which he asked the police chiefs about property crimes for the period between October and December of this year. This is what he found. 200% increase in crime in San Marino, 60% increase in Manhattan Beach, 51% Vernon, 36% Beverly Hills, et cetera, et cetera. Now, some of those cities are very small. So maybe 200% is only another 12 people, maybe it's another 50 people, another 100 people. But those people have to go to jail, and we have a overcrowded condition in our jails. We don't have room. As a result, those who are sentenced to jail for 12 months or less are serving 20% of their time. Looking at serving 15% of their time, because we're getting more of these inmates than the state said we were going to receive. And the governor, he was so smart, he said, well, you could put them in fire camps. And I said, well, we don't have that many fire camps to begin with, and not every inmate is capable of fighting a fire. And then he said, these are his words, I'm not exaggerating, you can contract with the state for those beds. So we said, how do you contract with the state for those beds when you have an overcrowded condition? And it's really it's very frustrating dealing with those issues, because they have serious financial impacts on every community. Now, we are really living in one of the most challenging times in American history. You have a $17 trillion budget deficit at the federal level, so 40 cents out of every dollar pays the interest on a debt. Just to start with. California, we have a very, very serious problem. In April, the funds coming into the state were dripping. They were just a drizzle. They were not what they anticipated. So the legislative analysts said that the personal income tax collection is going to be $3 billion below what the governor told us it was going to be in January. And the corporate tax forecast, we are $450 million less than that was in the governor's budget. So we're looking at a deficit of over $10 to $12 billion. Now that's a serious situation, because that means loss of jobs. California jobs, we find taxes and regulations are having a detrimental impact on them. In the last 2 decades, this is what's so shocking. In the last 2 decades, we have had more people leaving this state in the 35 to 42 year age, or 34 to 45 years of age category, for other states to go work. That's basically the lifeblood and engine of this state. They're taking their children and they're moving to other states. In California, 40% of our people are exempt from the income tax. Plus, our high-tech companies, Twitter, Adobe, eBay, and Oracle, are now expanding in Utah, not here. In Texas, Apple is building a $304 million campus to create 3,600 new jobs. eBay plans to add 1,000 jobs, and Facebook also established operations in Texas this past year. In Hollywood, David, now New Orleans is becoming one of the more film capitals, scheduled to surpass New York as #2 in film production. You know, we are really in a serious situation. Our credit rating is in the toilet. The spend more than available revenues philosophies must be repealed or replaced with a restoring of a structural reform. We need to have a structural reform of our state government. However, I used this expression before, the governor, he sees the wheel spinning. The wheel is spinning, but the damn hamster's dead. And he has to realize that. In 2011, more business quit each week in California than the year before. So while LA County has done a a pretty good job, and we're not perfect in our budget. We are being faced with unfunded mandates from the federal and state government that is very difficult to meet our needs. We talk about illegal immigration. If you saw in I think the House today or yesterday in the Senate, they're talking about $245 billion reimburse all the 50 states for illegal aliens, and the Senate is 255. It's in this category. LA County, we had $550 million costs in our jails for illegal immigration. Those are pennies, half pennies for the costs, and yet we have to take that out of our general fund. And you add other issues, and just welfare and food stamps for children of illegal aliens who are born here is over $643 million a year. So right there we're talking over $1 billion. And that excludes health, and it excludes education. These are unfunded mandates that the federal and state government, they are giving us, and we're having to try and make do in creating a budget that will meet vital services. Now, our budget for 2012-2013 is estimated to be $23.8 billion. We have nearly a $200 million rainy day fund. But that's $584 million less than the previous year. And when I talk about realignment, we already were looking at a $6 million shortfall between the period of October and June. And we just know what the big headache is going to be, because in that realignment of the governors, he has given all legal responsibilities to the state, from the state to the counties, for all lawsuits. I mentioned the 50% who don't want to show up for mental health. We're responsible for that. I mentioned the percentage that aren't showing up for drug and alcohol rehabilitation. We are responsible for that. Plus, we are responsible for their housing and meeting their needs. That's a serious economic impact that every county is going to face. So then, with that good news, our tax assessor, he comes up with an idea that perhaps he made a mistake on the reduction in property taxes from $2.3 billion is going to be maybe $13 billion. If that was true, that means another $50 million shortfall for the county of Los Angeles, and that does not include the shortfalls that every school and city is going to face. So the Board of Supervisors chastised him over that, and we ordered an audit, which is being completed right now this month, to find out what are the true figures. Then we have the other problem that he is involved with, and very likely he could be resigning, and the board will be appointing a new treasurer tax assessor because of some of the legal questions that have arisen relative to assessments that were improperly made. So these are reasons why we have a serious issue. But what have we done to try and keep our vital services and our budget in place? Our labor organizations, and I'll name them, the Teamsters, the SEIU, the AFL-CIO, all of the various unions, have agreed to a fourth year of no cost of living increase. We have held the line. The fourth year with labor support. The city of Los Angeles, they hand out raises hand over fist. Then they wonder why they have a problem. We've been able to do that with their support. We have a hard hiring freeze on non-essential services and supplies. We have consolidated county governments, departments. We have eliminated many of our commissions. At the state, you have some commissions that pay in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you only have to show up 12 times a year. Our commissions pay approximately $25 to, I think, $200 a meeting, monthly meeting. Our Productivity and Efficiency Commission that I initiated back in 1983 has saved over $4 billion in savings in delivery of services. So it's an ongoing, these are ongoing. It's not something that we just thought about. And our unfunded mandates is a problem, but we continue to fight that issue. And even on pensions, we have a much stronger pension system, although we all have problems, than the state of California. And some of their reforms that they're talking about, we already have in place at the county. Now, many people will say, well, the problem at the state was Proposition 13 when that was passed. But between 2003 and 2007, California lost nearly 400,000 jobs. However, state spending increased by 31% compared to a 5% population increase. State workforce exploded by 24%. And then they blame, I said, Prop 13 and the 2/3 vote on budgets. Those budgets were being delayed not because there was not enough spending in them, it was because there was too much spending. And as a result, we have one of the highest income tax, one of the highest sales tax in the nation. So obviously, that's not the issue. And then Prop 13, what's interesting about Prop 13, since 1979 when it went into effect, property tax revenues increased from $4.9 billion to $47 billion. And when you add for adjustments for inflation and population, that was 87% higher. So obviously there is more money, but where is it going? Well, it's going in for a number of stupid ideas. I mentioned civil service reform. At the state penitentiary, penal system, they have three doctors. This is just an example. They were penalized because patients died under their care. So what happened with the civil service? One works in the mailroom today, but he's still getting $250,000, $260,000 a year. Another one's in the storage room looking at old files. It is crazy that we're able to keep Deadwood in place, receiving money and lowering the morale of the workplace because of these cumbersome civil service rules that need to be reformed and be updated. Now, our Board of Supervisors is divided philosophically, but we work as a team and we were unanimous in this reform of civil service. Labor said no, we said yes, because it was in the best interest of the workforce but the taxpayers, and that was approved. That is not what's lacking, that's what's lacking at the state level. We also have been able to, I would say, be effective because we have differences, but we sit down and we reason together, sometimes split vote, other times unanimous vote, but we work together and we've had that ability to make decisions and be fiscally responsible compared to other agencies that don't talk, just cry, just demand, and nothing gets done. So it's a serious situation. But let me just say one, and I'll close. I want to read two little quotes that are very meaningful. The issue of our county, of our state, and our nation involve two serious issues. One, the breakup of the family. That is so severe that we need to do a better job in getting our children out of foster care into permanent homes. We also need to do a better job as parents, and when there is a breakup in a family, then the community has to come together, from scouting, Boys and Girls Club, the Y, Girl Scouts, etc., to come in and help that family, because when there is a divorce or a breakup in the home, to a child, that's a destruction of a civilization. And many children blame themselves, even though they're not part of it. So that's very important. There was a true story of John Francis Adams. He was the grandson of President Adams. His son wrote in his diary, his father wrote in his diary, "I took my son fishing today and it was the worst day of my life. I was bored." To the son, he wrote in his diary, It was the most important day of my life. So you can see, to a child, paying attention and giving them attention makes a difference. It makes them responsive, productive. They're not going to be tattooed from head to toe because they're rebelling. They're going to want to be productive to help people, to heal people. And we need to think seriously about getting our foster children adopted and being mentored to those kids. And that number again is 888-811-1121. This is so important, because when I go to the probation camps, I go to been to the county jail, you see those people. They're there because they don't have hope. They don't have a family. They're not there because of circumstances, except that they come from broken homes. They don't have direction. They don't have a spiritual foundation. They don't understand the responsibility. But the other, I can't find it right now, but a friend of mine was Rabbi Edgar Magnin. I don't know if some of you know about him. He used to write a weekly column. He was very close to Sybil Brand, who was a good friend. And she used to give a Christmas party at Hillcrest, the Jewish Country Club, every year. And Edgar Magnin was there. He was called His Eminence by Cardinal Manning, who was there as well. They were very close. But he basically said that we need to stick together, because if we are ever destroyed, this country is ever destroyed, it's going to be destroyed by weaknesses from within than enemies from without. And the weaknesses within is the family structure and why it has to be strengthened. And we need to do more to ensure that our kids who go to our schools are going to do quality education.